I first got involved in politics a few years back. I am a practicing physician. I deliver babies. I'm an obstetrician. I finished my residency in 1968. I opened up my medical practice down in Lake Jackson and practiced medicine there for about 5-6 years before I decided there was something wrong. At that particular time, during that period of time, some financial events were occurring, especially in monetary affairs, which was the breakdown of the international monetary standard, that is the Bretton Woods Agreement. Because the Austrian economists, those are the free market economists, predicted that we would be moving into an era of very bad times with a high inflation rate and the violent business cycle and even recession or depression. I became fascinated with this, and they became convinced also that they had the right explanation. So in 1974, I announced I would run for Congress. And of course, I was the pessimist, and I was very negative about it, and very sarcastic, and said, nobody cares, nobody will listen, nobody will pay any attention. I went before the people in Texas and presented the views I'll be presenting to you tonight, and talking about free enterprise system, individual liberties, civil liberties for the individual, as well as a non-interventionist foreign policy. And quite frankly, I didn't think anybody would pay any attention. I ended up being elected to Congress for 4 times. It was rather disruptive to my medical practice, to say the least. But it was fascinating because I had to really take a stand which was quite opposite of the status quo of Washington. In some ways it was exciting, it was very interesting, but it was also a bit nerve-wracking in time, because there were times when I'd have to vote in the Congress it would be 420 to 1, because my opinion was different. My opinion was different. You know, what would you think of a politician today here in Iowa that would deliberately vote against any special interest or special funding for the state or the district? I mean, you say, he's crazy. Besides, that's what I want. I want to get the funding. You know, I need the funding for the farmers. I need the funding for the students. I need the funding for the highways. I need the fundings for this. But to say that that is not the purpose of government, you would say, well, that's not a very popular stand. We don't care about this so-called oath that we take, the swear to uphold the Constitution. What we're concerned about as citizens is we want to know what we're going to get. We're going to send the congressman there to get what he can. Well, that's the way the system generally works. But I sort of defied that system. I went up and voted, and when it came to the special projects, even for my district, I opposed them on principle. But lo and behold, to my surprise, instead of that making it very damaging to me in my political career, the last time I ran for Congress, my political opponent, my Democratic opponent, dropped out of the race, which meant that I could have stayed and presented these ideas, because people will respond in a positive way if you explain to them why you're doing it and what you're doing. The libertarian message is very precise. There is a concept of government that is different than the concept of government today. It blends with what was written in the Constitution. And that concept is that government should be limited. I mean, if you look at the Constitution, you will find out that most of it says the government shall not have power to do such and such. And if the power isn't given to the government, they can't do it. And I took that oath seriously when I took an oath that said I would uphold the Constitution. Now, the libertarian says that he bases the principle on the fact that we promised never to use aggression against another individual. That sounds easy. Most people in this room would agree. Yeah, I agree with that. That means we're not going to use violence. We're not going to steal and rob and cheat and do these kind of things. Everybody believes in that. But we take that same principle of non-aggression against another individual and we apply it to the government. Now, that's the part which seems so strange. Oh, no, we know it's wrong to steal from our neighbor, but our congressman, that's his job. That's his purpose. I mean, we don't really care about this oath of office. What we want to know is how much he can get back for us. How many things can we get? How much money can he get? And every popular politician, if you ask him, what did he do for the district? Does he say, I got you more freedom? I got you less taxes? No, he says, I got such and such project for my district. As long as that's the measurement of the success of a politician, you can expect the economy and the political system to get much, much worse. And you're going to pay all the bills because you're young. So something has to give. Now, why was the political message of less value 10 or 15 years ago? Because we were still living on borrowed time and borrowed money and a lot of wealth. This country has been the wealthiest country ever. We have been the freest country, and we've been very, very prosperous. We had the strongest currency. We had the most gold. And what is happening today, 1988? The deficits are out of control. We have borrowed to the hilt. We are the largest debtor nation in the world, and we're facing serious problems. The currency is weak, and something has to give. No longer can we live on past accumulated wealth. No longer can we continue to borrow from around the world. That's coming to an end. It's an end of an era. You know, the interesting thing about 1988, I was asked to do this in 1980 and 1984, and I said the time wasn't quite right. 1988 is the right time to present these views, the alternative.